so I'm actually also a civil engineer, also a mechanical engineer, and I always wrestle with exactly the questions you guys are facing with ChatGPT, data, and so forth. And I'm a heavy coder. I code every day, and I try to keep going 3 to 4 hours a day with finite elements and everything. And it's something that I wrestle with my own group. And I appreciate, the questions you guys are wrestling with. And Khaled and I talk and go for walks all the time and discuss this. But I think we're going to have to embrace the dragon here. If you don't start really using these tools, you can see where the writing is on the wall with mechanical engineering, which is probably the closest field to civil. And it's always usually maybe a year or two ahead because it's easier problems, smaller scale, it's gadgets, it's a room, it's a laser, something along those lines. And even in that field, we're redoing the entire curriculum. I'm in mechanical engineering. And I have to say, I think one thing that is pressing upon me is how to embrace the technology for the younger people. I think we're just going to have to redo the entire undergraduate civil engineering curriculum and rethink it without Band-Aids. And I think that's something important to go back and really think. If you could redesign civil engineering and how we teach people and what we teach people, I think we have to start with tabula rasa. It's not going to be like 1 or 2 courses here and there in computational statistics or things of that sort. Starting from the freshman year, what does it really look like? And I think if we prune away a lot of things that probably are factoid driven, are somewhat table lookup, there's a lot of areas to basically include a lot more higher math, a lot more sophisticated computing, and I think what Professor Makras said is basically very, very true. I think thought experiments are really where it's going to go. And I think it's going to free us to think much more freely, just like finite elements did 35 years ago. I worked for a guy who was a finite element guy at UT, and he said, man, nobody likes this finite element stuff. It was a guy named J.T. Oden, and he's still alive. And, you fast forward 35 years later, and you go it's indispensable. So I think we're going to have to go there. But there are some comments that Khaled wanted me to make, preemptive, without being, a little bit, my own bias of how I see things. So there are over 200 people that participated. I have to say peer is really a diamond among all of the institutions we have in the UC system and beyond. It's by far probably the most visible on campus, especially in engineering. So it's something to really congratulate Khaled and Amarnath and their team. I think it's something, so Khaled, maybe stand up. Amarnath, wherever you are, guys. We're also redoing the Richmond Field Station heavily. We're trying to really revamp that thing, and so Pier is at the center of that. So hopefully within another year, we'll be able to see something that's really spectacular out there. And of course, hopefully we can do a lot more in AI and things of that sort as well. I have to say, there's a superb support for students. I think that's one thing that we have to acknowledge about Pier. It does educate a lot of people. It's a fantastic integrator. I have to say, Khaled and I have many projects that peer services that have nothing to do with civil engineering on the face of it. For example, artificial intelligence applied to food systems. And you'd think there's nothing to do with peer, but in fact, peer plays a central role because it tests all the greenhouses, all the structural equipment that actually are going into indoor farming and things of that sort. So if we do embrace those kinds of new technologies, those have to have structural tests, and there's a whole new avenue of things we now, I think with peer, are really going to be instrumental. So things we need to think out of the box. So just like with civil engineering, food people are now embracing AI as well. And you can imagine putting sensors all over greenhouses, orchards, things of that sort everywhere. And they're wrestling really with the same problems we're wrestling with in civil engineering. But it's that confluence of these different areas which are critical. And I think that's one thing to take away from peer is that it's nimble and it's constantly changing. And I think that's very unique in civil engineering, and we're all civil engineers here, and we know it's like the Titanic, right? Some new thing comes along and it's going to take forever for us to basically embrace it, but we usually do it in a very critical and impressive way. So I think peer has this unusual thing about it. It's nimble, and I think that is kudos to you, Khaled, and Amarnath, and all of your team. So I'll close with that, and Khaled, maybe you could come up and say a few words.
Thanks, Tarek. It's always good to have some support from the Dean's office. So we appreciate that. And I thank you all. I missed you all for all this pandemic time. It's nothing like seeing each other face to face and having a debate with Nikos and learning about all this fantastic work everybody's doing. So I hope we see you again, definitely in 16 months in the next peer annual meeting, January 2025. But we don't have to wait 16 months to see each other, because if you are not subscribed to the peer newsletter, please do. It takes 5 seconds. Just go to peer.berkeley.edu. At the bottom right, there is a subscribe. Then you're going to hear about our meetings. We expect at least 4 meetings before the next annual meeting. They may be smaller in size, but they could be focused on certain topics that would interest you. Some of them are already funded by peer, so they will take place for sure. There may be new things coming in. So we would like to see you again, not in 16 months, but sooner. So have safe travels if you are traveling, or enjoy the beautiful weather, and thank you very much.